I'm Calise Simone, Psychic Medium, and these are 2022 predictions. Looking at COVID, particularly in the USA, I will say that, I've always said this is going to be a 2 to 3 year affair with COVID. I still feel that way, and I feel if there's any year that's going to give us some sort of relief or feeling that COVID's under control, it feels like it's coming in 2022. There's a bit of a turning point this year, and it's not at the start of the year. It feels like it's sort of around 3/4 of the way through the year. Now, in terms of what's going on with the current wave, I do feel that will sort of pan out at the end of February. January into February, it will die down a little bit. And then there's this wonderful time in the spring, in the summer. People have been asking me, when can I travel? When can I go and do the things that I need to do? And it's looking like the springtime in the Northern Hemisphere, March to June, there's less energy around COVID. It looks like people are out there doing the things they need to do, tying up urgent affairs, urgent matters. That would be the time that I suggest you could plan to do those things, okay? Because that's the time when it looks like that energy sort of dies down a little bit. People do seem to have the ability to return to normal life by the end of the year, okay? Now, I'm not saying that COVID will be completely over. There is a feeling that it's still going to be around. I feel later in the year, there's going to be somewhat of the possibility of a second surge, and it does seem quite intense, but it's during that time of the second surge where it feels as though the energy shifts very, very quickly. And I was seeing a big line of energy through the graph, which to me felt like I could interpret that as something has changed with COVID. And I feel that that could be similar to a drug that helps manage the disease, some sort of vaccine that's different to the current ones that gets it under control even more, or maybe some kind of treatment. But it felt like the energy around COVID shifted about 3/4 of the way through the year, or a little bit later. I would say it's as late as November, but as early as possibly September, between that time. But before that happened, it felt like the numbers were starting to increase again. So the energy got stronger, and then it felt like a sudden stop. Interestingly, after that energy died down, it did feel like a very calm, back to life kind of building up of routines. Now, this may be a time when people are happy and they are relieved, but it didn't seem like that big sort of party energy that everyone was waiting for or hoping for. And it's very interesting to think about. So it's not going to be like a big sort of celebration time after this wave that I'm seeing, but it did feel like it was a calm, sort of softer back to work energy, almost a little bit somber, like, people were tired, but they were getting back to it. Moving along now to Australia, I do see that this current summer wave that's happening in Australia, December, January, February, because it's opposite seasons in Australia, that could have somewhat of a double bounce. And it may be that it just kind of has a slower progression, but I was seeing the peak in Australia more towards March, April, that numbers would continue to increase a little bit more steadily. And peaking a little bit later than the US wave. I do see it sort of calming down after that. The good news is that any treatments or cures that are coming out in 2022 did feel like they would come to Australia as well. I did see that energy at the end of 2022, like in the US, also coming into Australia, but it felt like it was just a few months later on.